What did you make of Jim Harbaugh's quote that he plans on enthusiastically being at Michigan in 2023?
I think you left out the qualifier, right? Wasn't there a qualifier in the
Yeah.
front of that?
Yes.
Just like no one can tell the future or something like that.
Yeah, he says, as I stated in December, no one knows what the future holds. I expect that I will be enthusiastically coaching Michigan in 2023.
I mean, look, I think, Dan, I think the best way to look at this is look at Jim Harbaugh's history. Okay. And when he first got to Michigan, there were NFL teams that were hot after him, right? Like 2015, 16, 17, 18, there was still a lot of interest in bringing him back to the NFL. And I think Jim had always sort of viewed it as having unfinished business in the NFL. He said it himself, right? And then, I think in 19 and 20, that interest in him cooled a little bit for one reason or another. And it got to the point where I think in 20, when they forced the pay cut on him, he would have happily gone to an NFL team to get out of there at that point. And I know there was outgoing interest from Harbaugh's camp to the Jets and Chargers, and he was sniffing around every NFL job. And even last year, like I think a lot of that interest was outgoing, the interest in the Raiders job, the interest in the Vikings job, his connection to Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who wound up being the Vikings GM, helped get him that interview in Minnesota. And so I think now for the first time in a few years, this interest is going to be incoming. Like I think his name has gotten a little hot again. And I think it's because there are more owners that are leading these searches, which I think is going to have some of these teams leaning towards wanting experienced people in those jobs, in those head coaching jobs. And so that's what's so interesting about this. He's got a really good team coming back at Michigan. He's got a program that's in better shape than it's been probably at any point since he's been there. But coaching in college is complicated right now. And he's almost 60 years old. And I think like going through what he did the last 3 years probably tested, and showed him his NFL mortality. And showing him that it's just not going to be there whenever I want. Like I can't count on 2 or 3 years from now, I can just go take another swing at it. So I certainly think that, if somebody comes along with an offer, whether it's Denver with his Stanford connections in that building to Greg Penner and Condoleezza Rice and John Elway, whether it's Indianapolis, and his connection to a top personnel man there and Ed Dodds, and of course the owner, Jim Irsay, or it's Carolina with David Tepper's resources. I think there's reason to believe in all three of those situations. There's some similarities to what he walked into at San Francisco, where there's some talent on the roster and you just need to fix the quarterback position. And I certainly think he's going to consider it.